We are starting this second session, and today we have very eminent scholar both in medicine and in archaeology. So first I would like to invite Professor Nelam de Prematalika. I'm sorry if I pronounce his name not good, but I think so. The topic, his topic is the archaeology of Buddhist monastic hospital in ancient Lanka. Please.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished scholars, ladies and friends, well, I'm sorry, please bear with me. I'm really talking against or it's just can't stand, can't sit, can't walk, can't talk, everything. I'm very grateful to SAARC Cultural Center, organizers of the SAARC International Seminar, more particularly to Dr. Sanjay Gar, Deputy Director of Research, for inviting me to present the paper on the archaeology of Buddhist monastic hospitals to this learned assembly of scholars. Thank you for your kind gesture. Since discovering the ancient hospital at Colombo, together with medical and surgical equipment, Professor Arjuna Alvyar, the then senior professor of surgery, University of Pennsylvania, was associated with us in identifying and researching on these materials. And I'm grateful for his presence here today in order to share his knowledge with us. Hello. Hello. Number 2 and 3. By the time Buddhism came to prevail in India in the 5th century BC, medical law, known as the Ayurveda too, had established itself firmly in the country. As Rollner and Longwich opine, the Four Noble Truths, suffering, dukkha, cause of suffering, dukkha paccaya, cessation of suffering, dukkha nirodha, and the way to end the suffering, dukkha nirodha gamini patipada, enunciated by the Buddha on his first sermon delivered at Isipatana, Saranath, very much correspond to the 4 tenets of the Ayurveda system of medical practice. Disease, roga, cause of disease, roga hetu, healing of disease, roga nivarana, and the way to heal the disease, roga nivarana veda. 4, 5, 6. Believed in both physical and mental health of human beings. His basic advice to monks as well as laymen was to maintain an equilibrium of mind and body, kaye kayam pachi viharana and chitte chittam pachi viharana, cleansing the mind of all ills, sachitta paryodhana, and the sustenance of a healthy physique as the highest gain that a person could achieve. Arogya Paramalabha are values that the Buddha exalted throughout his life. The canonical literature demonstrates how Buddha himself explained how the Buddha himself treated sick monks. For example, Puti Gatta Dissa Thera Vatthal was told. The growth of the monastic population called for more attention on the health of the community. Archaeological and literary evidence bring out volumes of measures taken for architectural embellishments needed for the care of the sick monks. The British Medical Journal, 1928, editorial records that it is to Gautama, that means the Buddha, that and his followers, that we owe apparently the hospital idea. In the 3rd century BC, different grades of health institutions for treating both humans and animals were founded by Emperor Dharmasoka, as recorded in his Girana Annals. These instances would indicate that the Indian medical system had reached an advanced state in the pre-Christian era itself. Ancient Indian medical system, known as Ayurveda, was absorbed into Sri Lanka's indigenous healing art almost from the foundation of the city of Anuradhapura in the 4th century BC, as evidenced by the establishment of institutions like Sathisala and Sivikasala by King Panukabir, the founder of the well-planned city of Anuradhapura, Mahavansas. Since then, the long line of rulers were responsible for the perpetual organization of health institutions for the well-being of the people. The chronicle Mahavansas provides much evidence on the measures taken by the rulers in this regard. The unique Buddhist Silpa text, Manjusri Vasuvidya Sastra, provides methodologies adopted in building hospitals, Rogasada or Rogale, in particular units of coasters of a monastery, cemeteries. The senior ruler Buddhadasa of the 4th century AC was a reputed medical practitioner. He set up a wide network of village hospitals. Various instances are recorded in the Chronicle Mahavansas of his skills as a physician and a surgeon. Mahavansas, chapter 37. The great compendium SAARC Sangraha II is accredited to him. He was also responsible for establishing teaching institutions as at Nalanda, India. In the 12th century, Colombo period, Archaeology I played a major role in the sphere of health service. In addition to his political leadership, Archaeology was a reputed medical practitioner and a teacher of medical law. Again, Mahavansas reports, I quote, he, the all-wise, summoned the physicians, tested in every way, their healing activities. And if their medical treatment had been wrongly carried out, he met them with the right method, pointed it out to them as the best of teachers, and showed them the proper use of instruments by skillfully treating several people with his own hand. Unquote. Our answer. Now, with this brief historical backdrop, we shall now proceed on to present a few archaeological sites with remains of ancient hospitals in order to provide first-hand information on the ancient hospital systems. Sri Lanka enjoyed the pride of place in having been fortunate to discover a few ancient hospital sites in Anuradhapura, Mihintale, Mathurgiriya and Polonnaruwa, of which Mihintale and Polonnaruwa are of great importance as these sites provide much information on our subject. Slide 8, 9. The Mihintale Hospital, 8th century, is located on a vast expanse of flat land at the foothill of the mountain. The hospital plant consists of 2 courts joined together. The first square court is neatly arranged with monks' living cells. Its center is occupied by rebuilt image shrine for the benefit of the resident monks. The sick monks, when inmates of the hospital, were prohibited from getting out even for worship. In order to fulfill their religious needs, an image shrine had to be provided within the hospital itself. The medicine shop, which was imperative for treatment, is located in a large cell at the southeast corner with an exit to facilitate treatment purposes. The adjoining court too is open, oblong court, allowing the inmate monks to attend to their daily needs. The alms hall and the hot water bath, called Chantagara, are provided in this court. Epigraphical evidence, more particularly the tablets of King Mahinda, located halfway up the hill of Mihintale, lay down regulations for monks who were inmates of the hospital. Slide number 10 and 11. The latest hospital site, which was discovered by us in the 1980s, constitutes the edifice at the southern limits of the great monastery. Ayana Padvina at Polonnaruwa, founded by Parakrama I, whom we referred to earlier as a well-known medical practitioner. The Ayana Padvina is fashioned out of a hillock, forming several terraces. It was in the lowest terrace on the south that the hospital was located on a vast flat land and as usual with easy access. 1213. The general plan of the hospital of Colombo is similar to the one at Mahindra in having two adjacent courts, but with minor differences and facilities. Here too, the hospital consisted of two courts. One open court was provided with living cells and dormitories for the monks. As at Mahindra, the court center appears to have had a shrine but built on stone struts called Tanpita Vihar. Slide 14. The outer court seems to differ from the hospital at Mahindra in that the entire area is set apart for dispensing treatment, as suggested by positioning of the medicine shop of Victoria at a corner cell, while the other dormitory-like cells would have been utilized mainly for surgical treatment. Slide 15. It is interesting to note that a large toilet with bathing facilities was located within the court for the inmates who were unable to walk out, while other toilets were located at the outer boundary walls. Slide 16. Apparently, the hospital has been designed to show maximum ventilation and free circulation of air. The premises were cordoned off from surroundings by a wall. On the whole, a pleasant outlook was given serious consideration in the presentation of the built environment. Slide 17 and 18. At the same time, flowering plants, also of medical values like cassia and margosa, grown against stone borders, created a garden environment which aesthetic outlook psychologically alleviated the otherwise suffering mind with hospital phobia in addition to their sicknesses. Excavations particularly at the Alhambra have revealed a variety of medical equipment and surgical instruments which provide significant data for the study of medical practice in ancient Lanka. 19 and 20. Medicine shop, which I mentioned earlier, and these have been found at Anuradhapura, Mahindra, Madhya, Digavapi and Polonnaruwa. Treating patients immersed in oils has been a system coming down through the ages and is practiced even today for certain bites and ailments such as rheumatism. Slide 21, please. Much information of the use of the medicine trough is available in the Charaka Samhita, the medical compendium of Ayurveda. It specifies that the patient be placed within a trough filled with oil for a long period and fed with milk. The similar text Yoga Ratnakara supplies even measurements and the shape of the trough. 22 please. Grinding stones. A fair number of grinding stones for preparing herbal medicines have been discovered. The vessels are of two types, those used horizontally and those used vertically. 23 please. Storage vessels were used for storing oils and herbal juices. Some of these are of Chinese skeleton of the Song period. Slide 24. Microbalance from the Colombo Hospital is a unique find with a scale shaft measuring a mere 8 centimeters and the fulcrum still functioning. The balance would possibly have been used to weigh medicinal materials such as musk, opiates, gold and mercury in minute quantities. 25 and 26. This spoon and probes. The spoon is the only specimen found so far belonging to ancient times. The probes simulating the cotton buds but made of bronze were used for applying medicinal paste or ointments in sensitive spots such as eyelids and nostrils. 27. Surgical instruments. We were also fortunate a number of surgical instruments from the Colombo Hospital site, and these included pincers, scissors, scalpels, etc. Finally, we are happy that Professor Alvayaran, the then senior surgeon of the Chief Hospital of India, who has done much research on these instruments, is here with us to discuss these items. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Professor, for your this lecture. So, I think we will discuss later on because these two articles is identical. So now I would like to request Dr. Arjuna Alovere to come as his speech, please. His topic is surgical instruments at Allah Prevena Hospital in Polonnaruwa.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished people who know these subjects, I'm very grateful to the organizers, again, in particular to Dr. Sanjay Garg and others for inviting me to come. I am also a Professor Emeritus, etc. Now, Professor Preman, if I am still alive in 18 years from now to get to his status, I'll be glad. You don't know that he has actually, with many other distinguished archaeologists, at least two of whom are here now, have walked the length and breadth of this country at a time when this subject was not fashionable. He has been involved in Kandy and Polonnaruwa, etc. And it is also interesting that the universities have actually been very active. I think Dr. Rose will agree in archaeological matters in Sri Lanka. And their archaeology students have done almost as much physical work in the sites as medical students do in hospital. Abu Simbel in Egypt. I presume almost everybody has heard about that. What you do not know is that when Professor Prematilka used to go up and down from Kandy to Polonnaruwa, he passed a similar place near Nalanda, and he was responsible for which was going to be covered in a dam, Nalanda Gate. And he was responsible in getting the British people to help, and they dismantled the whole of that, numbered all the stones, got a peninsula erected and re-erected it so that it can now be seen by you and I. And when you go to Anuradhapura, if you can manage to get the van to go slightly along a wrong road, you will be able to see it. Anyhow, so it is a great privilege to follow Professor Prematilika. Next slide. This surgery is not new, and it's been around in the subcontinent almost from as long as Greek times. And surgery has obviously been necessary not only because people got surgical illnesses, but because of war. And always, thanks to wars, even recently, there have been big advances in surgery. Next slide. Sushruta, you can read that. Probably lived near Benares, and he and others devised parasitical treatments, but he also was very well known for forehead rhinoplasty, which is an operation done today to reconstruct the nose, where the skin from here is moved down to make it to a nose. And maybe in his time, he had private patients who were rich, who had their noses reconstructed after committing adultery, so that they could commit adultery again. And this subsidized the hospital practice on leprosy patients who had lost their noses. And he wrote a lot about training. Nurses had to have short fingernails and short hair. He talked about research and so on. And he also said people should wash hands because there are invisible organisms which go from wound to wound and spread infection if that is not done. The Shara Sutra thread and fistula he is famous for. That is Euphorbia nevifolia, which is actually grown in our garden, which I brought from Benares, and that's an example of one of the threads. Now, you are probably all, because you're archaeologists, you're probably all familiar with what a patient's bottom looks like. But I'm showing this as a kind of warning, because while there is a lot of value that we can learn today from ancient surgery and medicine and the archaeology and so on, if it is not done properly, it causes trouble. And the top bottoms are patients who have had an incorrectly prepared Shara Sutra applied in Sri Lanka. And the bottom shows how you have to, the bottoms show how you have to sort it out. So it's very important to do things properly. And part of that again, if I can refer to it, in Sri Lankan texts where people you had to cut a lotus leaf which was in the water and cut it without putting it down into the water. So the knife had to be sharp and the hand had to be steady. Next. You can read that. Leonardo da Vinci drew a picture of a submarine, but he didn't have one. Now we have the pictures of instruments, as I'll show you in a moment. Finding the instruments in Mihintale and Polonnaruwa. And these are, I think, the only two sites in the world where instruments have been found in what on textual, epigraphical and archaeological evidence is a hospital. Other instruments have been found here and there, no doubt they were surgeons, but finding the instruments shows that the pictures and the text describe things that happen, unlike Leonardo da Vinci's submarine. This you have already heard about. Next. This you have heard about. Now we know that both tobacco and areca cause mouth and esophagus, colonial cancer. Maybe because they are not used in moderation. But these were found at the Alahana Hospital. A cutter for cutting areca nut and a calcium hydroxide container. Whether the monks ate it or the patients ate it, we don't know. That's the spoon. And this, the spoon is used for scraping things. It's not just used for eating, but it can be used for scraping and a variety of other things. Next. Now there were actually two balances, you remember, a bigger one and a small one. Now, big one, okay, slightly bigger one, that's alright, but the tiny one which still works, what is interesting, it must have been used to weigh very small quantities. As Professor Prematilka said, maybe a heavy metal, or maybe something like an opiate to render a person insensitive. Because we do know that at that time, unlike 400 years ago in Europe, they had things which made a patient insensitive or asleep, so that they could operate, and they had a method of waking the patient up afterwards. So it is possible, now this theory, it is possible that some of these tiny balances were used for that. The probes we have discussed. There have been books about the surgical instruments of the Hindus at various times, mainly in India. And these are the kinds of instruments that there are. You can read that. They are doing it. Right, next one please. And these are some of the Hindu instruments. And you can see here, there are various kinds of pincers and forceps, probes up there, scissors here, things which look like cutting instruments in these two. And as I said, the significance of finding instruments, it shows that this was not just somebody's imagination. Next. And this is Taxila in what is now northern Pakistan. I've had the privilege of actually holding these instruments in my hand when I was there. And there again you can see up here, there are scalpels, and this thing fits into a wooden handle, that little knob, and these are various forceps, but this actually is a jeweller's forceps, although it's classed with the medical instruments in Taxila. But so these instruments have been found. These were not found in any Sarkat or any one of the other archaeological sites which are fairly near Taxila. These were just found lying around. And subsequently, I've had the privilege of discussing with them the possibility of using modern imaging methods to try and find something which was like a hospital. But as far as I know, they haven't found one. There's another famous mound near Taxila, or Sarkat. Sorry?
Dharmarajika.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
The hill-like thing which was
Yes, Dharmarajika.
Yeah. Okay, next. Roman instruments have been found both in Bombay. There's a place which is called the surgeon's house because they had some instruments, but they don't know whether he was a surgeon or not. And there are some instruments in the Naples Museum. There are some instruments in the British museums. Notably, there's a much, these may be scalpel-like instruments, some of these, but there's a much better example of a scalpel in one of the Edinburgh National Museums. Now, the Sri Lankan ones, these are some of the forceps, long handle and a very short distance between the fulcrum and the jaws. So you can imagine that something hard was held in the jaws, not something soft. And so the question is whether this was used for teeth or whether this was used for bone. Another one like that. And in the various textual descriptions of procedures, they did operate on bone and teeth and things like that. And of course bladder stone, but that's another story we'll come to. Next one. This kind of scissor is not used in modern theatres except by the tailor who makes the clothes that the surgeons wear. But this is the kind of scissor for cutting cloth and that kind of thing, not for cutting people. Next one. But this scissor is a cutting people scissor, just about. I mean, our modern scissors are a bit more pointed and better, and this is made of a kind of iron-based material. You can see some of these, the probes are bronze. Some of these instruments are made of an iron-based material which is rusting. But it's been rusting for 900 years, so it's not rusting that fast. So, and there were wooden handles which fitted on here. Here. This is interesting. This is a lance. This also had a wooden handle here. Lance means you do this with it. You cut on something very quickly, and in the text again, for removal of bladder stones, they put a patient as though they were having a baby with their legs up, and you can aim at the bladder from between the two sets of openings that are there, and you can get at the bladder and take. I can see some people are looking horrified here, but actually it's quite practicable. And I put it in now quickly, and it's also used for cutting abscesses, that is collections of pus, that is infected fluid. You do this and the stuff comes out and it's quick. Next one. But this is the most interesting instrument. This is a scalpel, and this is exactly like the kind of scalpel that nowadays you get a detachable blade fitting onto a metal handle. 40, 50, 60 years ago there were steel scalpels which fitted onto a wooden handle here. And so this is a modern scalpel. This is the kind of scalpel we use for dissection when we medical students. This is this one. And so you see the idea of having a straight part on top so that the surgeon's finger would rest on the top blade so that it wouldn't wobble too much. The surgeon's finger rests here, handle in the hand like this, and you cut onto something very deliberately. Next slide. Now, these are some references. Now the philosophy part is taught. Next one. Is here. Indian authors writing towards the end of the 19th century and others have wondered why did this standard of work decline? And if we were doing this sort of thing 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago, we should now have been in the advance of these things. Industrial revolution and so on, you may say, but there are various theories. The third one that we didn't, the fourth one rather, that nobody kept audits. Nobody wrote down the results of operations. Nobody studied, so the documentation of what went on and research may not have been as good as it should, and that led to a decline. Then, another explanation is that doctors thought they were very wonderful people, and if there was, say, some meeting to discuss the roads or agriculture or something, they couldn't be bothered to go. And the king thought, our problem is an increase in the population, not a decrease in the population. So if these fellows cannot be bothered to discuss anything with us, we will exclude them and cut their funding. So they decline. Next one is, the physician will go to the king and say, you are going to get heart disease. You need me. The surgeon will go to the king and say, now you are planning a war with so and so. Somebody has to treat the wounded, so listen to me, don't listen to the physician. The pediatrician will go and say, these princes need health care, and I can look after the next generation, listen to me, these physicians and surgeons, they are looking after old people, they don't know anything. The obstetrician went to the queen and said, I am the one who is going to take the baby out. If you don't listen to me, you are going to be stuck with this baby for the rest of your life. So tell the king to listen to me. The king said, if these idiots cannot agree about anything, even about healthcare, and they are fighting amongst themselves, we will exclude them. And when I talk like this in England and the States, they want to know whether I am talking about England and the States today or 2,000 years ago. The last comment is the principle of medical neutrality, because that is also important. Maybe at that time, when, now this is a monastic hospital, some people say, the Polonnaruwa one was in the middle of the monastery, between Rankot-Pehera and Lanka. Mihintale one is also close to the monastic complex. The question is, could the ordinary people go there? If there was a robber or an enemy of the government, could he go and be safely treated as long as he was in the hospital? One of the previous speakers said there is something textual, that if there is a thief in the hospital, they cannot arrest him from the hospital. Today, in Syria and Bahrain, this has become an important problem, the principle of medical neutrality, because there are doctors and nurses being killed and punished and tortured by everybody because they are thought to be treating people of the other side. So an interesting question, which I don't know whether it will emerge from archaeology, is whether the extent to which the principle of medical neutrality applied at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arjuna, for your very good presentation which give us insight into the Ayurvedic system or medicine in those days. So now, because we have these very good papers, so now it's open for question if anybody have from Dr. Arjuna or from Professor Leland Parmatalike.
My question is to Professor Leland. First, I would like to thank for the very interesting and thought-provoking and information-loading presentation. I'm actually curious to know the date of the construction of these hospitals, because I asked the previous, presentation also. Then number 2. It's a very short question I'm asking. Dr. Jayakranti Kumari, she talked about she referred carving of women figurine on the walls of the toilet. Somehow I couldn't digest this idea. So I would like to know, if at all women were carved on the wall, so what was the idea behind it? And number 3, you talked about the tubs. So I would like to know the size of the tubs also, because my question is whether all the tubs were of the same size or of different size. Because the previous presenter who showed that tubs that was meant for a very lean and thin person. So these are 3-4 very short questions. Thank you.
About the date. 8th century is the Hindale Hospital.
8th century.
8th century. And another one is 12th century.
Is that quite late?
So it means from 8th to 12th century, this system existed in Sri Lanka.
But these are the oldest.
Yeah.
I think the lady who said there are females carved on the toilet walls, and Professor Prematilika and you are going to have a chat over lunch because he is not perfect.
So she was not in a good position. If you could throw some light, well and good, otherwise you could. Already from the 2 sessions.
My question is to the next as sir, you were told that you have referring to the medical knowledge for period, and in fact the medical, and you also refer to taxilas, and in taxila Navratna is there, but Sirkap and Sarsuk is there, sites, and also is there Bhil Mount. There also is there. That you may be referring to that. That I want. And in fact, the medical, even Jiva, who was the personal medicine of the Gautam Buddha, had studied taxila. After returning, so it was his medical profession was already very old and very previously it was very well developed. And that on development as you were referring to that. That I want.
Yeah, no, there is no dispute about the fact that the medical profession was very well developed in that part of India and well to India at that time. And where Sushrata was, which is thought to be around Benares. There is no dispute about that. But the problem was they haven't found a hospital and they haven't then found instruments inside the hospital. So that is what is unusual about Polonnaru and also Minitale.
Just small question. while performing surgery, do they have some kind of anesthesia?
Yes, they did.
Yes, professionally, I write on history of science, and I'm a co-editor of the True Encyclopedia of History of Non-Western Medicine. And you did these comparisons, and you mentioned the neutrality. Now, our doctors follow equivalence of the Hippocratic Oath. Now, I'm sure there were similar equivalents. Wouldn't South Asia adopt those equivalents? And these apply to issues in bioethics. 3 years ago, I organized in Delhi with various Indian institutes on Indian philosophical stance in the 6 Hindu traditions, Buddhism and Jainism, and attitudes towards the new developments in biotechnology and so on. So there are positions that are different. Should the professional medical establishment, Western educated, look at this?
Interesting question. These answers are difficult. Now, Hippocrates had his oath. Then the Arab physician Ibn Sina or Avicenna, he had an oath. Now, in Sri Lanka, to look at the Buddha's teaching, it is very clear. You can extract a straightforward medical oath which is almost identical with the oath from there. And I don't think South Asians need to adopt either Hippocrates or Ibn Sina. I think we have enough rich ethical tradition within the to have our own principles. And in Sri Lanka, they are trying with the oath of the Sri Lanka Medical Council, which doctors are supposed to try to. But I think the straightforward, ordinary religious teaching of all the major religions in Sri Lanka, if it is carried out by doctors and of course politicians, will not cause a problem in the health system of patients at all.
And please.
I actually have a technical question about the surgical instruments, and I also wanted to thank you for your observations on the American healthcare system. That is in fact, very similar in terms of the infighting. Has there been any metallurgical study done on these instruments? I know you were saying that some are different kinds of iron-based and some are for cutting people versus cutting cloth, things like that. Have you looked at all in terms of the elemental composition and the alloys that are used?
Now, I have to say, I know it has been looked at. I cannot remember all the details. Steel technology existed in the country at that time. And in the Anuradhapura temples, they had smelting places. And so it was all done. And as I said, some iron-based and bends. The answer exists. I don't know it. If you can give me an email address, I will get the answer to you.
I'd be happy to.
Okay, 4th century.
When I went to Welcome near Trinco, there was a vehicle room which was quite more sophisticated than the one in Colombo, which had got like ridges at the back of it. So are there sort of variations in this vehicle room with different techniques?
You have described the variation, therefore the answer to your question is yes, there are variations. I won't go further than that.
No, I mean, are those variations understood? I mean, as to what they were for?
You must know these way. I think we'll have to discuss that over lunch. There may be, but I don't think it's a complicated answer. I think it's probably a common sense-based situation.
Not a question, doctor, but just to add, there is one Buddhist text on medicine found by long ago by one Captain Bauer, and that in Bauer's manuscript, one of the part of the manuscript talks about Buddhist medicinal system and Buddhist surgical system, and that text is called Naunidagam. So if you have a very interesting data, if you compare with that text, so I think some new interesting research can be generated. Thank you.
Next one.
Just a very short interjection. You talked about 12th century. Sorry. In Cambodia, my wife lived for 10 years in Cambodia. Vesajya manuscript is still used. I think it's a text written in Sri Lanka and is still used in temples as medical practice. Sorry, Vesajya manuscript. Sorry, I am not far from it.
Just to, by way of providing some information, all instruments are now on display at the Colombo Museum. And also about this microbalance, which is a very, very important item. I don't know, I haven't seen any such small item anywhere. As I said, it's only 8 centimeters, and we found not only this, the two pans, the scale, shaft, and the fulcrum intact. We kept within us a case, a metal case. And now, of course, they are all pieces, but all those things are there. Now, in this regard, I must tell you, at the Colombo National Museum, there is at the moment, I am in the process of refurbishing the galleries, and there is a scale somewhat larger, but the case and the fulcrum and everything carved out of ivory. That's a very prized item, where you can drop in there anytime. You can have a look at. And that belongs to about the 14th century. So which indicates that this kind of just medical being has been continuing right through. Thank you.
We have a very short time for only 2 questions if there is a problem. Anybody, if you want to ask any question from Doctor and Professor? No. So in that case, now I would like to invite Dr. Bonamante Govindasume and Dr. K. Kurma Devi to come as her.
Good morning, friends. I am Bhargavati. I am a producer in the Educational Media Research Center from Hyderabad, India. My co-author is Dr. Kurma Devi, who is an English lecturer in the Women's College in Hyderabad. You will be surprised to see that why a producer and English lecturer has come down to Buddhist archaeology program. I'm closely linked with my professor called Dr. Radha Krishna, who is an archaeologist and is an eminent professor in Usmania University in Hyderabad. So we used to document different programs or films for undergraduate students in Hyderabad. So I have a very close relationship in knowing the facts and finding out the facts or interested in history and everything. So in that way I used to go around different places in India and in Andhra Pradesh also. So I thought when we used to go to different places, I used to watch the tourists Here I'm not going to talk about Buddhist or Buddhism or think what your archaeology people have brought it out. I want to talk about the mindset of the tourist. What for this archaeologist bringing out all those things and keeping it in the museum? Until unless it doesn't reach to the people, it is no matter. See Dr. Professor, Dr. Leananda and Dr. Arjuna. See, the same topic, what I am going to talk. It's on Nagarjuna Konda. Nagarjuna Konda is a place in Andhra Pradesh. Just little small bit. Yeah. It's a small historical background I want to see. Nagarjuna Konda is located near Nagarjuna Sagar in Nalgonda city in Andhra Pradesh. It is 150 kilometers east of the capital of Hyderabad. It was formed when a hill was submerged in the waters of the Nagarjuna Sagar project, constructed in 1960s. It is one of the India's richest Buddhist sites, known in the ancient times as Sri Parvata. It now lies almost entirely under Nagarjuna Sagar Dam. It is named after Nagarjuna, a southern Indian master of Mahayana Buddhism, who lived in the 2nd century, who is believed to have been responsible for Buddhist activity in the area. The site was once located of many Buddhist universities and monasteries, attracting students from as well as China, Gandhara, Bengal and Sri Lanka. The Buddhist archaeological sites, they were submerged and had to later be dug up and transferred to higher land on the hill, which had become an island. See, why I have taken this subject? You see, it's universities and different schools have been there, even underwater, even today. This Amaravati is very famous place in Andhra Pradesh. If you are still interested, you people can go to the 3rd floor, where my friend Dr. Jayram has presented the poster there regarding the Nagarjuna Konda. That is the site what I am going to talk about it. So my topic is say Buddhism as a realization. Once it was a realization where people used to go for to know about their lives, to change their life or whatever it is. Today, what is the situation? Today, what is the how the people are accepting that path, the past one. So this is the thing what I want to talk about today. An archaeological category started in 1960 when an irrigation dam was constructed across the nearby Krishna river, submerging the original site under the water of reservoir. In advanced flooding, several monuments were dug up and relocated to the top Nagarjuna hill, where a museum was built in 1966. Other monuments were relocated to the mainland, east of the flooded area. Dedicated archaeologists managed to recover almost all the village. This is what I want to give respect to the archaeologists who took so much strain to dig out all those things from there and kept it in a hilly place. Still there are 250 sites underwater. And when the water submerges, we can see few places also which comes up. If you go there, you can see that. So that was the thing why I took up this topic regarding that. My objective is to know the fact of Buddhism as a region of the Andhra Pradesh between 3rd and 7th century BC. To find out the interest of the present tourists to the archaeological excavation. To know the interest of the tourists when they visit some historical places. The relevance of Buddhism in the present day in connection with the archaeological findings. Next. This is the place at Nagarjuna Konda in Nalgonda district of Andhra Pradesh in India. This is the museum and monument places. Next. The research methodology. Descriptive research, purposive sampling are taken. Only Indian tourists were, because a lot of foreign tourists also comes there. But the questions what we asked regarding the local importance. So we have avoided the foreign tourists and we have selected only the Indians. Only Indian tourists who took boat to reach the Nagarjuna Konda was taken as a See, from the dam, from mainland, you have to go to the particular konda. This konda means a hill. You have to take a boat riding for 1.5 hours and come 1.5 hours. There at least 2 to 3 hours. The whole day they will spend there. So people used to take this boat ride. Only Indian tourists between the age group of 10 to 50 and above were selected as a research sample. 10, why I have taken 10 means it was the Buddhism, our Buddha, there is some lessons in the school also. So I just want to know how much into the school the students have, college students have, and what is the middle educated people, uneducated people, why they are coming to this particular museum. One minute, before that. Yes. Yeah. Now, I just don't want to talk all this about the Nagarjuna, but I want you people to go there and see the reality. And I want you people also enjoy the boat riding. Please. Sound? Start from first. Start from first. Sound is there. Yeah. It's coming. See me sitting there, corner. These are the foreign students. I'm also director for hospitality coordinator for our foreign student in my university. So I'm taking my students there. Museum inside it, which was excavated the site. In Hyderabad, where they made this Buddha there in the center of the city and made it into an entertainment park. So everybody goes around the Buddha, nobody knows about Buddha, what was there, but actually it is meant for, it was installed by the Buddha Purnima project. But everybody goes there to the entertainment. They have the parties in the ship, birthday parties, marriage parties, everything. So I just want to know once, if this is turned, it will be the same condition, but still people are maintaining, the Archaeology department and the government of Andhra Pradesh is maintaining that, keeping it very good. So here, after seeing this, you might know what must be the result. Okay, table 1. See, 1. This is the age group, boys and girls. Total response was 998 students we have taken, and women were this. 30 to 50 men is 316 and it is 162 were men and women total. Next. This educational qualification of the respondent. You can see the schooling, these are the 10 to 15 is schooling, 56 and 78. Degree people who have completed 511 people. 141 is PG and others, technical and other qualification, and that is uneducated people. Next. Methodology what we have. These are the questionnaires, we have prepared 30 questionnaires. To 1 to 5 we have general questions, and 16 for Buddha and Buddhism. So slowly we want to take them to the subject. And 12 to 18 on history part. And 19 to 27 questions on awareness about the museum. So after entering into it, what they have seen, because they will be spending around 1.5 hours inside the museum. So what they see, to recollect it. And 29 on present generation interest on archaeological findings. 30 is on interest of visitors like boating, historical information, museum and Buddha and Buddhism. So that is the final part, thing what we want to know. Next one. Language spoken by the tourist. Okay, sorry, this is coming. 449 were Telugu people and 129 Southern Telugu, Malayalam, Tamil and Kannada people. 81 were North Indians. Foreigners and above 60 years and below 10 years was not taken into account. Next. Findings. Out of 919 visitors, 32 people felt museum they felt best. 846 visitors enjoyed boat riding. 120 people liked boats. This 120 people is, people about the age of 45 and 50, who have come with their son and son-in-law or daughter-in-law there. But mostly the graduates and the students and everybody said boat riding. Why did you come? Boat riding. We enjoyed boat riding. That's it. So what was the next? What we want to say, Nagarjunakonda is the knowledge center for human life. More interest to be taken to educate the people on the archaeology aspect than a picnic spot. Because 1.5 hours up and 1.5 down what we are going. There we can make some 20 minutes drama or films, clippings or musical thing about Buddha so that it remains in their minds. The museum requires educated guides. There they clearly says photographs are not allowed. All the photographs what I have taken was with my camera. No security people. The security people sit outside the gate and whatever he uses, he said. No talk. Silent. No. And everybody was taking the camera and he was sitting out there. That is the condition of the museum. And the board as a teaching tool to the visitors. So between that time something should be used. It is, I want to say that 50% the government should take necessary step and even the people who visit should have the interest of visiting the places. So there is no point until unless this come together. So as a sociologist, I think more things should be added to archaeological part. One more small thing, sorry sir, one more interesting part I would like to show to you people. This was published just last month. You can see Buddha at the Crossroads. This was published by Hindu magazine on Sunday. It's a very popular magazine in Tamil Nadu or in India. Very popular magazine published by Hindu. Buddha at the Crossroads. You all must be knowing, if you are a beggar or whatever, he's standing on the road, begging and all. So it means Buddha at the Crossroads. To marry Miss Universe or stay single. Suppose if you continue this, why the journal should use off page, he has given here. He has occupied, he is talking about this Buddha, half page he has prescribed. That half page he should have covered it. Because he got money. But not this.
We shouldn't be rigid, it should be contemporized.
Okay, that's what an archaeologist, they should think, and this, when you inquired what the meaning they
It's a
say.
newspaper article, not an archaeological report. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The archaeological people should object some things.
I don't think so.
And one more thing. And when people inquire this, or the local people, village people, they say, well, what is this God doing? We don't know. He is what do you call money people, money God, who gives money. And in questions that I asked you, do you know about Buddha? Yes. I saw in the shop, laughing Buddha, Vastu Buddha. Nobody knows about Buddha, who is Buddha, where he was born. Many people just say Vastu Buddha, if you keep in the shop, will get more property. The same thing he just mentioned here. One person says, my husband went to Dubai. Before going, he just blessed, he took the blessings of this God and he boarded the bus. So he came with property. So all our village people go to this particular God before boarding the flight or bus and then fly. That's what he has mentioned here.
I have a point to make.
Which date?
It is Sunday, June 10th, 2012. Sunday, June 10th, 2012. I can give you the copy of this.
Sure, I would like to.
Yeah. So, this is
Okay, Karuna Devi.
not Karuna Devi and and Bhanumati Govindaswamy, my Karuna Devi is my co-author. And I would like
I apologize for
no problem.
She's very sweet.
I think you have missed the most important site,
Yeah.
especially for Sri Lankans, in your museum. You just showed a clip as you entered, which is the Sinhala Vihara. Have you seen the Sinhala Vihara?
Here,
After the boat trip?
here in Nagarjuna Kota.
Yeah.
Not in the island, it's on the eastern.
No.
Regarding archaeology part, my friend who is on researcher, Dr. Jairam will explain.
No, it is no. I may be mistaken. Correct me if I am wrong. I have gone on that trip. I have also gone to Amravati, maybe twice or thrice. And as you come up, there is a Sinhala Vihara.
Okay, sir.
It's in large signboards. And in your museum, there are, I think, two, panels on the Sinhala Vihara, which is not very distinct panels. And so that's from the 3rd or 4th century. It's very important for Sri Lanka because there is epigraphical evidence from the 3rd. I think your first slide was wrong.
I'm not talking about Sri Lanka and I'm just reading about the Buddhist mentality. And the clippings, because Dr. Sanjay said it should not last more than 10 minutes or something. So I have edited for 2 minutes.
The 3rd to 4th century BC, you can't have Buddhist ruins, right? I think you implied 3rd to 4th century AD, right? That's separate, that doesn't matter. That's fair. But the main important thing is the Sinhala Vihara. And in Amaravati, there are several inscriptions about donations to Sinhala Vihara. And there are the inscriptions both in Sri Lanka and to what you call the site, from the 3rd century up to about the
We are short of time. Please you make sure.
No, this is this is a total non-observance of very obvious archaeological sites there. I have about 400 photographs of that entire.
Of course, our country has some jobs.
I respect you, I know, but today I'm not talking anything about archaeology, I'm only about tourism.
I think her topic is not here. Topic is not.
So if you have a talk with Jairam will explain.
Awareness of the people regarding.
Short points to me. First, I congratulate you for a very different time of the paper, and I think you should be helping us all with the PPTs. That was a wonderful video clipping.
Thank you.
The 2 points, one is historical and one is very contemporary. Historical point is when you are interviewing people about their knowledge of Buddha, Buddhism and history. What is my observation through my own research is that in India, there is the historical awareness of Buddha may not be there. But if we talk about philosophical awareness of Buddhism, if you take elements from Buddhist philosophy, without telling them that this is Buddhist philosophy, do you know this? But if you ask them about misery, if you ask them about spiritual and sensual, giving up, all those things, those kind of cultural things are very much embedded in the mindset of the people. So Buddhism is a lot about cultural, without getting into the nomenclature maybe, or without getting into the technical aspect of it. So if you interview them, you'll find that people are aware of Buddhism very much. There's one point you can respond to. I'll make my second point and I'll hand over the mic. Second point is about some contemporary issues which you, and I agree totally with you that the security person was allowing you to take the photographs. But I also have a point to make that when it is written, photography is not allowed. It is as much our responsibility not to take the photographs.
Yes, understand. I understand. And the first thing what
I think, she told and you agreed it, it's okay.
I can also use my roommate.
One question I will allow, then
drawing to light because also the picture what the Buddha or Buddhism at a crossroad in India but these are this one. But the fact you have seen Nagarjuna Konda. Nagarjuna instead the name came from the Nagarjuna, the philosopher. And your realization is reality, conventional truth and absolute truth. Very philosophical, I don't want to go. But so far the condition of the tourist was in the mindset and telling that. Even, and also you brought up situation academia, how they think about archaeology. Many universities have not given archaeology department. Even the university has not separate the history. Even water resources want to go in the dust and all this, they don't want to include that area. And so this is what is the purpose of this argument? The purpose is the Buddhists have brought to like all this science.
Exactly.
And the purpose of today is also very high, literally what you want to say, the Buddha, the light of Asia. In that context, certainly the tourist brought into light.
So thank you.
Just one question.
After that,
please. Because you were talking about tourists coming to Nagarjuna, so it's something I think go on for a long debate, but just your idea. What is the attitude of the people that you investigated, that you study, about having this as a sacred space or as a tourist space? What would be their idea?
No, I want, this should be a sacred place and to maintain the culture and tradition of Buddhism. Because it's nobody knows, it's the 2nd century, because the people who come, only the elderly people knows about Buddha or Buddhism, the younger staff not interested, even they didn't enter into the museum. They say, oh, they came museum, Nagarjuna museum, they chuke, that's it. And they go around the park and sometimes the lovers come there, they sit at the like the moment the boat fellow visits, they come and board. That's all. So I want to make it as a sacred place, and as well as the tourists should know about the importance, the struggle, the strain they have taken the archaeology department to people to keep our tradition and culture alive. So it should go simultaneously. That's what I want to do. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I think now we are approaching to the time of lunch, but I would like to make some small remarks. Today in this second session we have two very excellent presentations by Dr. Dhananda Parmatalika and Dr. Arjuna Lavira. And of course this last one also, I will comment about it also. But first update, I am very glad that this discipline in archaeology in this period in Sri Lanka, somebody was given the attention because every religion teach us the health, mental health and physical health. So of course Buddhism as a religion has also laid down in society for health, physical health and mental health some principles. And it was interesting that because the lady sitting here was asking me asking for the date of these hospitals which we have seen the photographs, she was correct, because there was no idea in these articles from which date these hospitals were established here there. So Dr. have clarified, Nanda has clarified that it is from 8th century to 12th century. And Dr. Arjuna has shown some photograph of medical instrument or surgery instrument from Texala, Pakistan. In that context, if we compare, it was not only here that this practice of surgery and medicine of Ayurvedic medicine or system was practiced, but because the Birman, Sarsuk and Sirkap, Birman is the first city in Texala which was established even 400 BC before. So these instruments come from that excavation, and Sarsuk, that is the second site, and first century AD city site. It is not stupa, and Sarsuk as well. So it means that these surgical instruments were current in right from 3rd century AD up to 12th century as here in Sri Lanka. So this, because this whole area there in those days was the prevalence of Buddhist religion. So in those days these practices were done right from 3rd century AD up to 12th century AD. And as far as some question, I'm sorry again for that. It is not part, I think, of archaeologists. They have excavated, they have established the museum they put. But unfortunately, in some countries, we lack the projection and the system to teach our people, students, because yes, they are fond of boating and picnic and that, but they don't understand the importance of these relics which are displayed in the museum. So it is not part of the tourist, neither of archaeologists, but it is part of the system which we are dealing with. So we have to improve it. Thank you, and I think the lunch will be ready. Okay, and I close this.